All right, we are live. What's going on, everyone? How you doing today? My name is Matt Jarbo. This is $3 Theater 4. If I recall correctly, it's the 21st of the month, 21st of January 2019. I should know this for a multitude of things. One being that it's on the screen right there. I can see it. You can see it. Oops. And apparently there we go. There we go. Taking care of business. Oh, what I need to do. All right. It's been a crazy weekend when it comes to movie stuff, right? MLK Jr. weekend. It's a holiday weekend. People went out and saw movies, although not as much as they should have. I want to make sure you guys can see me okay. Okay. Let's see here. Best image ever. It's a good image. I found this today on the Midnight's Edge Facebook group. I asked the creator of the meme, or at least the sharer of the meme, if I could in fact share it. He was very cool with that. I figured it'd be good for the thumbnail because Ghostbusters is a big deal. It's coming back into it, guys. We're coming back into the fight. It's been nearly 3 years, and I'm ready to go to war. Not really. Not really. But it feels like that, right? It kind of feels like that. We're going to talk about that here in a few minutes. I just want to give people a chance to jump on in order to get here, because I did talk about it, but you know, YouTube and their notifications, and this is kind of the first day of this. So let's kind of quickly run down what the podcast is. So I realized I want to do live. And the best time of day for me to do live is at 5 p.m. Pacific. It's just the best time of day for me to do it. I can get this work done, and you guys can come on in. We can have a good time. We can talk about movies. I can answer emails. I can answer voicemails, and you guys can send those in there. Just so you know, you can head over to your email machine right now and fire up that thing and send an email over to 3bucktheater@gmail.com. Or you can call our podcast line, not a podcast line, our voicemail line at 818-350-3281. I should know that by now. I say it all the damn time. I should know it by now. So there's that. And of course, I'm not going to be able to get to probably every email or every voicemail, but I do want to answer at least a couple emails at a time, as well as a couple voicemails. Go through the news first, answer the voicemail stuff, and then chit-chat with you guys for a little bit while we round down the hour. One of the reasons why I want to do it like that is because I feel it's a great way to build rapport with you guys. When I was doing it before, I would get a lot of email. I'd get a lot of voicemails, right? A lot of voicemails. But then I realized at the same time, there are people from out of the country that watch that aren't able to do it, because this is predominantly within the United States and Canada. If you're able to call international, you can do it. So at the same time, you can sit there and record your question via MP3, you know, and mail that off to me. You can sit there and send that off to me, and then I can play it. I just asked that it be about maybe, you know, 30 seconds long, and the emails be under 90 words. Just because it's a fair amount that I can get to your question, and it doesn't take up that much time. There are people, yeah, God bless them, that send me, literally have sent me like 3.5 minute long voicemails, right? And I appreciate how in depth they go. I really appreciate that. And then I'm like, but how do I answer this? You know, how do I do this? How do I answer this particular question in a constrained time frame, right? And so before, I've chopped it up a little bit. I've sliced them down a bit, but then it also loses the overall intent in some respects that the caller wanted. And I don't want to do that, because my whole reasoning for creating the voicemail line and trying to do this live is I want to talk to you guys. I want to interact with you guys, man. Movies are why we're all here. Movies are why, you know, why I do a lot of things I do. It's because I like movies, and I think they're a lot of fun. So there's definitely going to be all that. So yes, Anthony, I see your comment there about New Mutants. Don't worry, that is currently in the lineup for today as well. We're okay. We're okay with that at the moment. I think we're gonna be pretty good. So it's been a few minutes. Answer everything, my puppy. Yes, thank you, William Harrison. I appreciate that. Nerd Report is my buddy Lewis. He's series of mods. You check him out. I'm going to shill him real quick because he's a good friend. That would be Nerd Report over here on YouTube. You can look it up. He goes live to talk movies, of course, at noon Pacific to 1 p.m. Pacific, Monday through Friday. He just started doing it as well, so we're both kind of starting this together, going on this journey together. I actually guest starred on his podcast today talking about Ghostbusters, and I'm just gonna put it to you guys like this, and feel free to give him tons of shit in the chat. He did not like the original Ghostbusters. Now, not that he didn't like it, but he's not a big fan. Nerd Report, a guy called Nerd Report, not a big fan of Ghostbusters. So, you know, feel free to shame him, but then also go to his channel and check it out, which our conversation will be up. I think it's a lot of fun. For those of you guys who care, I'm currently also working on trying to put together a creator roundtable with some specific type of YouTube content creators that do dabble in the realm of some fan works. I've currently got 2 out of the 3 people that I'm seeking, and I'm hoping to get the 3rd person on board to talk to you, to bring this roundtable to you guys. It's going to be a great discussion about everything. I'm super excited for that. I've been working on that for a couple days now. Again, I've got 2 of the 3 people I'm working on. I'm just trying to get that last one. I'm hoping he says yes, and we can get this thing off the ground. It'll be a great deal of fun. Be a lot of fun. So, without further ado, let's just jump into today's topics, right? Let's jump in to everything, because we got a lot to talk about here, especially when it comes to Leslie Jones. Now, Leslie Jones has clarified her comments about the Ghostbusters sequel, Ghostbusters 3. Because if you recall, over the weekend, she went on Twitter and she blew up Twitter. She lit up Twitter with this particular comment saying like, oh, why are you making a dang old movie? Dang old Trump did this. So I'm paraphrasing, obviously, what Leslie Jones is saying, but it's still relatively true. She kind of tried to blame Trump for Ghostbusters 3 getting greenlit at Sony rather than Paul Feig's Ghostbusters 2. She's really believing this. She's really upset about this. But, you know, the internet kind of pushed back, as they do. The internet clapped back with like, no, Leslie. You don't get to act that way. We know the truth. We know what's going on. We have the numbers and we know the history. And believe me, in a second, I will show you guys how well I know the history of the situation, because it's kind of embarrassing. But at the same time, I'm a Ghostbusters 2016 historian. And I'm going to tell you all about what went on back in 2016, the movie, the failure that was known as Ghostbusters. I don't know what the hell I'm doing that for, to be honest with you. I think it's funny, but anyway, let's move on. So it says here that Leslie Jones clarifies her Ghostbusters sequels comments. Actress Leslie Jones caused quite a stir 2 days ago with the remarks on the news that Jason Reitman would be doing Ghostbusters 3 in the original's continuity. As you can guess, she wasn't the biggest fan of the news, but one day after she made her remarks, she sought to clarify what she originally meant and put them into some context. Right. When she gets up there and she makes a stink on Twitter and she basically blames Trump for this, that's yeah, sure. I'm going to believe that context, right? And I'm usually the person that's like arguing the most for context here. But no, I mean, she was in the last movie. She was a vocal defender of the last movie. The movie tanked. She lost her mind on Milo Yiannopoulos on Twitter because he dared criticize it. And then, of course, his audience kind of went after her. She was then... This is true, by the way. If you don't know this, this is legitimately true. She had her phone hacked, her Apple account hacked, her iCloud account, because of the whole Milo being banned situation. They found her, they got to her, I think it was her website, took down her website, replaced it with like this pro Milo message, and then proceeded to post, because they found these photos on her iCloud. And again, I am not making this up. 100% real. This 100% happened. Swear to God. They found her driver's license and passport, right? Her driver's license and her passport, because at the time was the 2016 Winter or Summer Olympics, and NBC was sending her over to wherever the hell it was. I think it was Russia. Was it Russia? I don't know. It doesn't really matter. Going over there, and she had this, I'm assuming, sent some intern at NBC her documents in order to facilitate a ticket. And yeah, so they had that, and then there were some other photos that if we were going to go back to 2014 and put them into context, the fappening, those kind of photos. I've seen things on Leslie Jones that no person should see on any other person that doesn't want that information out there. I feel bad for her. Legitimately, in that moment, I felt really bad. I also kind of got that 1,000-yard stare, because there's certain things you can't unsee. That being said, That's what happened. So she's got some reason to be upset at everything, probably wanting a number 2 to give a middle finger to the haters. And I get that. I do. I understand that. But ultimately, that's where we find ourselves. Now, it says here, so someone here says, the only reason dude bros come at Les Dog about another Ghostbusters is because she won't take their shit. She stands up for the women. Let's be real. They don't have access to the others, but they'll get a fight with Leslie. She ain't shit for thinking anything they say counts. Well, it wasn't like she said, I mean, I'm pretty sure people are giving her a hard time over it, but her response was like, Trump did this. They only make this movie for the boys. No, not at all. But she tried making that argument. It goes on to say this is her response, her context, so to speak. It's very sad that this is a response I get. When the point is, if they make this new one with all men and it does well, which it will, it might feel that boys are better and it makes my heart drop. Maybe I could have used different words, but I'm allowed to have my feelings just like them. And you know what? Listen, that's true. She is allowed to have her feelings and she is closer to this particular situation, you know, than a lot of other people. She's a lot closer to the situation than many of us. And she has a lot invested into it, and that is the credit I will give her. However, if we want to talk about coverage of the film, we want to talk about the movie in regards to discussing it post-mortem, there's only a couple YouTube channels that I would argue would probably be good enough to go down that path. One of them is clearly Midnight's Edge. And this is where we get into my little pocket of it, which I'm kind of embarrassed to show you guys this, but someone put this playlist together of every single Ghostbusters video I've made since probably 2014 or 2015. This is legitimate. This is true. This is the Mundane Matt Ghostbusters 2016 playlist. As we can see here, there are 42 videos. Over the span of the past several years, I have created 42 individual pieces of content surrounding this particular movie. So when people say to me, hey, Matt, maybe you want to stop talking about Ghostbusters, they have a point. To be fair, I'll give them that. But at the same time, I like to jokingly say that I've made more money on the movie than Sony did, and Ghostbusters is clearly the gift that keeps on giving, because we can go down for a while here. We can really go down for a while. We can see how bad this is. We can see how crazy this is. Oh my God. It's true. 42 videos I've made. This is technically 46 if you count the coverage of the original tweet that I put over on the Mundane Mad channel earlier today. So yeah. Here's the deal. Donald Trump isn't the reason why Ghostbusters 3 got greenlit under Jason Reitman. It was the fact that Paul Feig, Melissa McCarthy, maybe not even Leslie Jones, she kind of kept herself side, didn't really engage with it too much, Kristen Wiig and Tom Rothman, Amy Pascal, all the players involved in the powers that be of Ghostbusters 2016 came out and repeatedly attacked the fan base. When there was criticism over the original trailer, which was bad, they came out and said sexism. When there was criticism of the first full trailer, because it still looked bad, they came out and they cried sexism. When they went back to go reshoot parts of the movie and they added in a bit where they're making fun of the comment section from the first trailer, sexism. That's exactly where things are with this particular project, is the fact that they have attacked the fan base, and the fan base attacked back by not going and seeing the movie. It had an estimated $144 million budget, with Paul Feig saying that the movie had to gross roughly $400 million in order to break even. It never did. It never did at all. What happened was that it ended up getting $229 million worldwide, and that was it. And the home video sales weren't that grand. It was less than $10 that Black Friday on Blu-ray. You can find it now in the $5 bin, and I've held it in my hands. I've held the movie in my hands, and I have been like, it's only $5. Clearly, there's something good about this worth $5, because I want to like the movie. I still can never do it, but I will say, and I will give it two caveats. Two caveats I will give Ghostbusters 2016. Two things. Number one is it retroactively made Ghostbusters 2 a better movie. Let's be fair. What would you rather watch, 2016 or number 2? clearly number 2. And then also it gave us Thor Ragnarok, which is very true. Chris Hemsworth being allowed to joke, being allowed to have fun, being allowed to joke and make the type of character that he was in that movie is what was well received, and it opened up the concept of making Thor Ragnarok more of a comedy than kind of an Arthurian legend medieval fantasy, which is what happened to Thor: The Dark World. And I think arguably that particular performance led into Avengers Infinity War being a lot more endearing with this character. So that is what I give. That is what I give this movie. That's what I give it. And I don't think anyone out there can really disagree with me on that. But hey, at least it's dead now. We can move on, right? Right? I hope so. I mean, I look at this list, and I really, really hope so. All right, let's talk about Disney. Disney, apparently, and this is something I've seen blown up all over the web today. Everyone's like, oh my God, Disney lost $1 billion on streaming. Disney lost $1 billion because of Hulu and BAM Tech investments. Disney made like $13 billion last year, somewhere in there. It made a lot of money. It made money. Doing okay. Disney's all right. Losing $1 billion, or writing down $1 billion, essentially, is not going to be the end of the world. Remember, 2017, Sony announced that in 2016, it had to write down $980 million from its film studio. And a lot of that had to do with Ghostbusters being a flop. So, you know, it can, and then it's had its upswing. And so these things kind of bounce around. But let's talk about this because it's very interesting nonetheless. It says Disney is losing big money on streaming, and it hasn't even launched Disney Plus, its new trademark streaming service, yet. The House of Mouse lost more than $1 billion in 2018 combined between Hulu and BAMTech, the technology that powers its ESPN Plus streaming service. Now, Hulu drove a $580 million equity investment loss during Disney's fiscal year, which ended on September 30th, while BAMTech was the primary reason for a $469 million loss in this direct-to-consumer segment. Now, I don't quite know what would have caused that. I know that recently Hulu announced that they are now over 25 million active users on the platform. I mean, that's nowhere near Netflix's 137 million subscribers, but they do have 25 million, but a couple years ago it was at like 8 million. So, you know, they've done a lot to kind of boost it up, and I think tying it in with whatever Disney Plus is going to be is going to be good to kind of bolster that up. But I guess it's also because maybe just there wasn't a lot of content. I've noticed a lot of content on Hulu has kind of started to go down a little bit. And it's not just Disney that's writing down off of Hulu. It's actually, I think, like Comcast even as well is writing it down. So there's, you know, it costs money to also run streaming services. Let's be fair. I mean, look, just to give, I don't want to completely compare to Netflix, but they said, you know, Netflix is $20 billion in the hole. 20 with 9 zeros after that. $20 billion in the hole. But yet it's estimating to spend, and again, I'm not kidding you, $15 billion this year. $15 billion on content this year. That is up from $8 billion last year. So clearly there is something happening here that is, again, it costs money to make money in the streaming world, and this is where we find ourselves. Now it says Disney owns a 30% stake in Hulu, which is set to double after its buyout of 21st Century Fox's assets. Hulu recently boasted that it has 25 million paying subscribers across all its products, including its $7.99 month-based subscription and its $39.99 per month Hulu with live TV option. Hulu has gained fans and critical acclaim thanks to The Handmaid's Tale, its bedrock original series, but it hasn't been able to turn a profit, with the service on pace to lose $1.5 billion during this fiscal year. Again, having those paying customers paying for the rights to these particular shows, even though it's co-owned by Disney and Comcast and AT&T, Time Warner, even though that's only 10% now, and they're probably going to sell their 10% to Disney, which would then just leave Disney with 70%, Comcast with 30%, and then Comcast is probably just going to, you know, Comcast is probably just going to sell it over to them. But I would argue that's kind of a dumb move, because even though they've only got 30% and Disney will eventually, you know, kind of crush them out, they're going to be tying in a lot of Disney Plus, getting it in through Hulu, and so it might benefit them to maybe find a way to, you know, work with that. It finishes up here by saying Disney's $1 billion loss on Hulu and BAMTech comes as it prepares to debut Disney Plus, its streaming answer to Netflix later this year. Disney Plus, along with housing titles from Disney brands, including Marvel, Pixar, and Lucasfilm, and its own vault, will feature a number of original productions. In late 2017, Disney chief Bob Iger said the plans is to price its streaming service substantially below Netflix, which is now up to $16 a month if you have the 4K package, which I do, but I'm going to say The Punisher in 4K looks pretty damn good. So I'm not upset about that. I pay for what counts. You know, I treat my girl right. She's like, "Oh, you want Netflix?" I'm like, "Yeah." She's like, "What you want?" I'm like, "UK or UHD 4K, baby. Only the best in streaming services for my lady." But no, I don't see this as being a big deal. You know, a company that makes as many billions a year as it does, you know, writing down $1 billion in operating loss, is this going to go against their taxes, which is, again, only going to benefit them this particular year. Bob Iger is in this for the long haul. That's what you have to understand. Iger sees this as the future. He sees this as what's going to happen. So he is definitely, you know, willing to spend the money to get on that particular plane. Now, here's the deal is if Comcast sells its percentage to Disney, it's entirely possible that Disney will just scuttle Hulu and then move everything over into, you know, Disney Plus, or keep it around, but keep it as like a portal into Disney Plus. I've always said that's going to be the thing. I've always said that that's going to be how it works out. That's what they're going to do. But at the meantime, we'll have to wait and see what happens here, because it's going to be a fun ride to see where Disney goes next. But, you know, when people are out there saying that this needs to, you got to fire everybody because of this, you got to get rid of people because of this happening, they don't understand business, and they're being pedantic because they really love them sweet clicks here on YouTube. Speaking of trying to get sweet clicks here on YouTube, let's talk about this new rumor going around about the New Mutants, a movie that by all intents and purposes should already be on my my Blu-ray shelf right now, because it was set to come out nearly a year ago, and it hasn't, because of reasons, apparently. All right, this movie at this point should probably just not exist. They should probably just get rid of it, to be fair. But at the same time, it's probably going to go to Hulu. It is. I don't think it's going to go theatrical. It says here, when word hit that director Josh Boone was going to make the New Mutants a horror-centric tale, people like this writer here was immediately sold. But then the film was delayed a couple times since it was announced, and the trailer was hit. And there's been plenty of rumors that the studio and Boone weren't exactly seeing eye to eye. These were later denied by all involved, but there was still a reality to deal with, that the film seemed to be constantly getting pushed back. Now there are some rumors pointing to a more potential issues. I wonder what they could be. Is it going to be the Hulu release? Because, you know, the title kind of spoiled it. But anyway, Twitter user Scott Bechtel claims to have heard rumors regarding the upcoming film here, saying, "Just heard a whisper through the grapevine. Hashtag New Mutants will be delayed again. Fox and Boone are really struggling to coming to terms on a comprehensible and finished product. They are looking to release in early November, but Fox is still toying with a Hulu release in October for New Mutants. They're trying to decide which method which have a more returnable value for an otherwise dead on arrival film." Well, that's an interesting perspective on it, right? I mean, that is. Now, the author here goes on to tell us more about who this Scott Bechtel guy is, saying, well, he's just a fan with the podcast, so there's no reason to think he's credible. Now, this is the thing I love about these kind of things. It's obviously, you know, by saying, oh, he's just a guy with the podcast, as a gentleman with a podcast, I get it. But trying to kind of discredit or undermine the rumor, if you will, because it gives plausible deniability, which is true. But it would, I mean, seem interesting if this is the case. So when the deal goes through, because the deal at this point, many people already believe is effectively done, that the deal itself is effectively done. And so when that happens, again, Hulu's going to get 60% to Disney, which then Fox could then filter itself to dropping the movie on there, going up against The Runaways, which is already pretty popular on Hulu, as well as Cloak and Dagger, which is also on Hulu, even though it premieres on, Freeform. So if an R-rated New Mutants movie drops on Hulu, because at this point I believe it's still R-rated, the reshoots I've heard haven't even happened. Or I could be wrong and they did happen, but I was reading a report earlier that basically said the reshoots haven't happened, that Simon Kinberg and Josh Boone are butting heads over how to finish this thing, and it's constantly delaying it. But the thing with it is we know that this movie is going to be dead on arrival. While people want to see New Mutants, and while it might do well in some respects, it's not going to actually result in any kind of, I don't know, reasonable profit. But they want to get the most out of it, so releasing it on Hulu might actually help. It could get some of those wary X-Men fans to head over there so they can check out Runaways and Cloak and Dagger. And I believe even Legion is on there now because it's an FX show, and that's going to be on there as well. So there are going to be, and then The Gifted is also on there. So there's a ton of actual like Marvel mutant X-Men related content already on Hulu. So that does actually make a fair amount of sense. Truth be told, I want to see this movie in theaters. I do. After the success of Deadpool and Logan and Deadpool 2, I wanted to see what this movie would bring to the table in regards to that. More so than Dark Phoenix. Dark Phoenix pisses me off because that movie should be shelved and locked into a vault, and then Kevin Feige give an X-Men and then start the tale anew with recasting and all that jazz. That's what I think should happen with that. But this one could be interesting. Hopefully we'll find out more as time goes on, but I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen with this movie. It's kind of you know, at this point, it's Schrodinger's New Mutants, right? It really is. Either the movie exists or it doesn't. And while it's in that box, both answers are arguably true. I just hope we open it up and the damn thing's inside rather than not. So jumping over here to some interesting little plot details that have coming out from Toy Story 4. It's going to be interesting to see where they take us. Where I've always kind of wondered where would they go in Toy Story 4 after the events of Toy Story 3. You know, when they're sitting there at a garbage dump near the incinerator, at that point coming to terms and grips with the fact that they're going to die. And then, of course, getting over to Bonnie's house and leading a good life after that. Where do you take the franchise? There wasn't a dry eye in the damn theater. Every time I had to sit through the ending of that damn movie, because I did every day. I worked at a theater at the time and we had it playing 5 times a day. And I had to go up there and reset the movie, and I had to finish. You know how hard it is to walk into a sad ending multiple times a day? It doesn't get easier. It's a constant reminder that people who you grew up with are no longer going to be around. It's sad. I don't want to deal with it. But anyway, now we've got this new plot detail leak, so to speak, that is going to tell us what we can find out. Now it says new information about Toy Story 4 has in fact been revealed. The movie has been on a bumpy path since it was announced in 2014. That's weird too, right? It's been almost 5 years since it's been announced. Pixar cranked out Cars 2 way faster than that. Anyway, but thankfully, everything seems to be running smoothly now. Back at the end of last year, some new information teased that the story would bring forth a big adventure, which has seemingly been confirmed in the latest story information. The gang has a new home and is apparently back to loving life, living with Bonnie. However, the arrival of Forky throws everything off balance. Forky, if you don't know, is a spork with some pipe cleaner arms and doesn't consider himself to be a toy. We've seen the new nervous character teased in the previously released Toy Story 4 promotional material. Forky is voiced by Veep's Tony Hale and is pretty uncomfortable joining his new friends, which leads to an outside world adventure and learning what it means to be a toy. They arrive at a carnival and meet Ducky, Keegan-Michael Key, and Bunny, Jordan Peele, who become new friends. Toy Story 4 will reportedly revolve around the gang learning to accept Forky while also figuring out what makes something a toy. Spork with pipe cleaner arms can just be as fun to play with as a traditional toy, and that relationship will be explored in the sequel, which has been described as historical by Tom Hanks, who voices Woody. Many fans of the franchise expected the franchise to end with a 3rd film, and then, of course, they're wrapping it up with a 4th. I don't know. So, if this is to be true, if this is going to be the plot line, I'm not going to lie. It's kind of derivative. Right. I get it. They're arguing with identity. They're tackling the identity politics. They're trying to go after what does it mean to be a toy? And that's always something worth asking yourself. What does it mean to be a human? What does it mean to be anything? But didn't we already go down that path in the first movie back in the 1990s? Buzz Lightyear believed that he was Star Command or Space Command. Right? He believed that he was an intergalactic ranger. He believed that he was a hero who could fly. He could shoot rockets and laser beams out of his arm. He believed that identity to be true. And of course, this is just the antithesis to that, right? So instead of having a toy that believes, or that can't come to terms with the fact that it's a toy because it believes its identity is something else, and here going the opposite route of something who doesn't believe it's a toy, having to come to grips that it is, it does feel like a bit of an opposite thing that could work, and I'm sure it's going to be fine. This is Pixar. When have they let us down outside of Ratatouille? Yeah, I know. Fight me on that one. It's Pixar's worst movie. It's just, I mean, well, Brave is probably their worst movie, but Ratatouille is pretty stinker. Anyway, it could be fun. It could be interesting, but at the same time, it could also get it could also be going for what we like to call woke points, depending on how they play it. But this is a kids movie aimed at children. I'm not worried about it. I think it's going to be fine. I don't know. I feel like they're rehashing old territory because the first movie was Buzz coming to grips with being a toy. The second movie was Woody coming to grips with being a toy. And the third movie was the gang coming to terms with the fact that they're always going to be toys and that Andy grew up. So it's about identity past, the empty nest syndrome, so to speak. And I'm sure there's going to be themes here tackled by the writers, and it's going to be good. It's going to be good. But I leave it to you. What are your guys thinking about this? Good, bad, or you just don't care? All right. So I have a little bit of mea culpa to take here. I will fully admit. I did a video a couple weeks ago talking about Mary Poppins and Bumblebee, and I'm like, why they flopped? And people were like, Bumblebee didn't flop, sir. Same thing said about Mary Poppins. And both have actually gone on to do relatively well. Even though their opening weekend up against Aquaman, and they lost out to Aquaman. In fact, a lot of things lost out to Aquaman. But they've been able to hold on and actually do well enough to where both are now getting sequels. Yeah, because it's Hollywood, and clearly an original idea is something that they don't have anymore. But Bumblebee 2 planned his first Transformers spinoff crosses $400 million. And listen, I am very happy that this news exists. I haven't seen Bumblebee yet. I haven't been into the theater as much as I want to recently. But I am happy that they are making it. Because from what I hear, Travis Knight knocked it out of the park, that he told this really great, heartwarming coming-of-age story that had the heart. And as we all know, Bumblebee was always the heart of the original 5 Transformers films, even though the last couple of them were just pretty bad. Pretty damn bad, right? Just terrible stuff. And anyway, it says here, for the first time in a long time, Transformers fans have a lot to be excited about when it comes to the robots eating the skies being represented on the big screen. Thanks to a decent box office take, and more importantly, very solid reviews / word of mouth, Bumblebee 2 is in the works at Paramount. While it's in the early stages, there are a couple of projects that look to be coming down the pipeline first. This is great news for those who want to see the franchise continue down its current course. Basically, no more Michael Bay, which I think is for the best. I love me some Michael Bay, but you can tell with Transformers 4 and 5, he was doing that for a paycheck. He was doing it for a paycheck. He didn't care about the movie anymore. You can tell when Michael Bay phones in explosions, that's pretty bad, right? And if you watch number 4, those explosions were pretty phoned in. It was just like, blow that thing up on the other side of the building and we're going to see it over top and it's going to look like an explosion, although nothing's going to get damaged. Yeah, when Michael Bay when he skimps on explosions, there's something rotten in Denmark, and I'm pretty sure it's affecting him, in other ways. You know what I mean? Yeah, that's kind of what I mean. Anyway, according to a new report, the studio's in development on a sequel to last year's spin-off / prequel Bumblebee. With his takeover the weekend, the Travis Knight-directed blockbuster grossed $412 million worldwide. While that's low for what we've come to expect from Transformers movies over the years, it's apparently enough to make the movie profitable. Producer Lorenzo Di Bonaventura has this to say: "We had many objectives, including bringing a new set of families into the series, and that succeeded. In the aftermarkets, that will continue to succeed in a big way. Part of our obligation was to bring people back who had left the franchise or had never experienced it, which worked well. We are finding our way. Our intention was, as we wanted to please the core fans, was to also bring in a new audience." And let's be realistic on this one. Do you know how hard it is to please the core fans and bring in a new audience, right? Ghostbusters was saying it was trying that. Oh, we're totally for the fans. It's totally for the fans. Right. Oh, yeah. No, that's a lie. We all know it's a lie. You know it's a lie. I know it's a lie. But here makes some sense. And what I've heard about the movie is that this is the whole situation, is it really did please the core audience and told a new story to bring in other people, and it's working. So again, when I said I have some mea culpa to take because this particular project is done well, and I originally said that it flopped based on the reports I was reading, I'm very happy to see that's not the case. I'm very happy to see that there's life beyond this movie that ultimately no one asked for. When they said, oh, we're doing a Bumblebee prequel, everyone's like, why? We want an Optimus Prime and Megatron messing stuff up on Cybertron, baby. And no, we're going to do this. It's cool. You guys are going to love it. And then it turns out people liked it. So we all can be wrong, apparently. Right? That can be. That's a thing. Speaking of things that are wrong and I don't think should happen, but maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Apparently, Channing Tatum is rumored to direct the Gambit movie after everyone else passes. That's pretty sad, right? When the guy's like, I really want to make this movie a reality, so I'm going to go and direct it. Even though a lot of better people have come on board and they've left as well. So, yeah, right. This feels like one last act of 20th Century Fox. If I'm being truthful here. The 20th Century Fox superhero properties are in limbo at the moment. Disney and Fox are headed towards a merger that will see the latter's properties from a creative and business standpoint shift to the former. So blue chip titles like X-Men, Deadpool, and the Fantastic Four await status on their ultimate fate. By the way, quick thing with that one, Ryan Reynolds did say tonight, right before starting recording of this one, an article came out that they are working on Deadpool 3. It's just going to change course. I don't know what that is. I don't know what that means. I don't know if it means it's going to be able to pee around a corner. I don't get it. But what it tells me ultimately is that it's going to be PG-13 and not an official X-Force film. You know, they're going to do another standalone. That's what I think. Anyway, smaller projects are even more deeply affected by the situation, with many wondering when and where they might happen. Channing Tatum's long gestating Gambit falls into that niche, though a new word suggests that if and when the movie happens, he might direct it himself. Channing Tatum has been attached to the Gambit movie for as long as we can remember, though the director's chair on the project has been a legitimate revolving door of candidates who have come and gone. However, buried in a Deadline story over the weekend, it says that Tatum is leaving his reps at UTA in Management 360, and Deadline says that there's buzz that Tatum might want to helm the Gambit movie, even though it's still being worked on. I mean, and I agree here, it says, sure, why not? If everyone else is passing, then it's time for Channing Tatum to simply do what no one else wants to do. He seems to have a vision for the infamous X-Men character. He has allowed the Gambit movie to stay afloat when many others have tried to pull its plug. If he's the right person for the job, then maybe it's time for him to show it. And you know what? I kind of agree with that, to be fair. I don't know if Channing Tatum's going to be a good director, but fuck it, right? Like, who cares at this point? Like, let it happen. Just let it happen. Just, you know, I mean, look, I was at Comic-Con in 2015, Hall H, Saturday night, when they brought out the cast of X-Men Apocalypse, of Deadpool, you know, of I think even Logan might have been there, right? They had everyone on stage. And then they brought out Channing Tatum as, you know, as Gambit. They had him there as Gambit. That was a big crowd-pleasing event, right? That was like Avengers on stage for the same time, for the first time, Comic-Con Hall H 2010, right? That was a big watershed moment for what was supposed to be this big interconnected universe going forward. And he's held on. We're coming up on 4 years. He's held on to this project. This dude wants it. So maybe they should let him have it. Now, the likelihood of it actually happening is probably slim to none. I mean, keep in mind that once Remy LeBeau gets back into Disney's hands, it goes over to Kevin Feige, and I don't think Feige is going to sit there and want to make this a passion project for Channing Tatum. You got to remember that the movies that these movies are producer driven. This is Feige's vision. And Feige finds people that can work within what he wants while still expressing themselves. And he's open to new things. Obviously, Thor Ragnarok and the original Guardians of the Galaxy really kind of showed us that. But is he going to bring in Channing Tatum to have a pole stripping Remy LeBeau do a heist film in the deep south? In the bayou? I got no idea. But at the same time, fuck it. Just do it. What's literally the worst that could happen? It be good? I don't think anyone would be expecting that, right? Quite frankly, if you heard like, you know, coming soon, dun dun, Channing Tatum as, dun dun, Gambit in a Channing Tatum film, dun dun. It's like, when the hell did Channing Tatum become freaking Tyler Perry? At the same time, I remember Magic Mike opening night. I was in Santa Barbara, California, stood outside of a movie theater, and like legions of like sorority girls exited the theater. And I'm just like, man, I can only imagine how terrible that theater smells right now. I'm just telling you that there's an audience there, and there's money, and sex sells. Channing Tatum's a sexy dude. I think we all can agree on that one. All right, finally today. I say bad things. We're talking about the Razzies, right? The 2019 Razzie Award nominations. Now, I love this. I actually think I have more fun with the Razzies than I do with the actual Oscars. The actual Oscars to me are like boring now, right? They're boring, especially this year with the whole Black Panther thing. Oh, we want to make a most popular category, so we can give it to Black Panther. Just give it Best Picture. You know you want to. They do. They want to. Is it Best Picture? No. It's Green Book. I don't know. I'm seeing Green Book. That's what everyone says. Green Book's the best thing. I don't know. But the Razzies are always a lot of fun because it's just awarding the crappiest of the crappy. And there's a lot of crappy films that came out in 2018. So coming down here, it gives us Worst Picture. The nominations are Gotti, The Happy Time Murders, Holmes and Watson, Robin Hood, and Winchester. Now, all of those, from what I understand, are terrible. I haven't seen any of them because I value my time. But Gotti is probably the one that's going to win. It was bad, right? It was bad. A lot of problems there. The Happy Time Murders, maybe. I've heard people say they like that one quite a bit. Holmes and Watson, I've heard nothing but terrible things, which makes me want to see it all the more. Robin Hood was going to be a disaster from the beginning and originally planned as a 7-part film series, by the way. Or no, I think a 5-part film series. King Arthur was a 7-part film series. But they gave it to some dude we'd never heard of before as a director and made it some flashy, I don't even know what the hell it was. And then Winchester's just bad, but it's like mediocre, middle of the road bad, not terrible bad. The fact that it was even nominated is just like there weren't many they could choose from, I think, this year. Worst Actress, Jennifer Garner, Peppermint, sure. Amber Heard, London Fields, never saw it. Neither, I think, did anybody else. Melissa McCarthy, The Happy Time Murders, and Life of the Party. For Life of the Party, which is basically just a remake of Rodney Dangerfield's Back to School, it could be worse. Helen Mirren in Winchester, and Amanda Seyfried in The Clapper. Haven't seen any of those movies. Worst Actor, Johnny Depp in Sherlock Gnomes. Will Ferrell and Holmes and Watson. That's great, though, that 2 Sherlock-related properties are both on here. I think that's done for a solid reason. We got Donald J. Trump as himself in Death of a Nation and Fahrenheit 11/9. That's good. That's good. That's a good troll job right there. You did good, Razzies. You're trolling our president. Good job. And then Bruce Willis in Death Wish, which come on, that wasn't not bad. It's pretty good. Worst Supporting Actor, Jamie Foxx, Robin Hood, Ludacris in Show Dogs, Joel McHale, Happy Time Murders, John C. Reilly, Holmes and Watson, and Justice Smith, Jurassic World, Fallen Kingdom. I didn't think Justice Smith was that bad. I didn't. I really didn't. Let's see here. Worst Supporting Actress, Kellyanne Conway. I hope she wins and she shows up to accept. That would be great. Top tier trolling. Marsha Gay Harden for 50 Shades Freed. Kelly Preston for Gotti. Jazz Sinclair for Slenderman. Melania Trump for Fahrenheit 11/9. Now they're really going after. Yeah, okay. All these nominations for Worst Actor, Worst Actress, but not Worst Movie. Worst Supporting Actress. Okay, Worst Screen Combo. Any 2 actors are puppets. Happy Time Murders. Johnny Depp and his fast-fading film career. Sherlock Gnomes. Will Ferrell and John C. Reilly trashing 2 of literature's most beloved characters. Holmes and Watson. Kelly Preston and John Travolta getting Battlefield Earth type reviews. Here's the thing. Battlefield Earth was bad, but like I watched it again and it wasn't like the worst thing I'd ever seen. It was just going a little bit too hard on the Kenneth Branagh Dutch angles. And then, of course, Donald J. Trump and his self-perpetuating pettiness and Death of a Nation in Fahrenheit 9/11. Oh, man, they're really trying to get the MAGA crowd against this. Are you guys trying to get protested by Trump supporters? Well done. No, really, well done. That's solid right there. That's solid. Worst remakes, ripoff or sequel. Death of a Nation, a remake of Hillary's America. Death Wish, Holmes and Watson, The Meg, and Robin Hood. I've heard The Meg was good. I heard it was like stupid, dumb, fun, and good. Worst director, Aiton Cohen for Holmes and Watson. Kevin Connolly for Gotti. By the way, Kevin Connolly for Gotti is E from Entourage, by the way. Yeah. E from Entourage directed Gotti. I feel like that should just be Entourage, the movie part 2. That's what it should be. James Foley for 50 Shades Freed. Brian Henson for The Happy Time Murders. And the Spierig brothers for Winchester. Man, the Spirit Brothers did Winchester. Man, they're not bad. You want to see a weird? I think they did the what was that movie? The Poughkeepsie tapes. I think they did the Poughkeepsie tapes, which was brutally disturbing in many places. So I feel very bad that they were hired to do this. Then they also do Devil, the M. Night Shyamalan produced movie in an elevator that was actually remarkably good. So they got some bad material here, man. I feel bad for them, to be honest with you. Worst screenplay: Death of a Nation, 50 Shades Freed, Gotti, Happy Time Murders, and Winchester. Look, here's the thing. 50 Shades Freed should win best screenplay. You know why? Because it means the goddamn franchise is over. Right? It's best because it's over. Award them for ending our misery, especially mine. You have no idea. Ending all of our misery and finally walking away from that god-awful, terrible, absolute crap fest of a franchise that should have never been a billion-dollar movie series. But at the same time, it's really got me thinking about how I can convert, some more literature to some kind of weird, crazy fetish porn. Furries are pretty big right now, right? What could we mash furries with? I mean, I would say dignity, but that's not a thing. I don't know. I'll think about it and I'll get back to you guys. All right. That is seven stories. I thought there's a lot. And there's even stuff I missed there too, by the way. There's stuff I missed. Oh my God. Oh, hey, what's up? Midnight Sedge After Dark. I didn't see you guys were here. All right. There's a lot going on in the chat. Cool beans. I just took a look. Let me bring this up real quick. Check the voice. Okay, no one called in. Cool. I was just checking to see if anyone called in real quick or anyone that sent an email, because I'm curious to see that. And okay, bring that up here. All right, we got an email. Yes. From Rachel. Thank you, Rachel. One of my mods who's been around for a long time. I really appreciate it. She asks the question, out of curiosity, do you think that the new Ghostbusters film will be bad or it will be good? If I'm being honest, Rachel, I have high hopes. And the reason why I have high hopes is because I feel that Jason Reitman is the right director for the job. He's the right man. Yeah, I said it. I said a pun. One in the chat if you guys like the pun. Anyway, here's the way I view it. Reitman, having grown up around the franchise, his father, being Ivan Reitman and everything else, he knows Ghostbusters inside and out, right? But he got to experience it as a kid, right? So imagine a kid growing up in a castle, right? Growing up in this very specific world. And then when he gets older is asked to then build another castle. Well, he's obviously going to build it based upon what is good, with the nostalgic aspects of it, right? The better parts of his childhood. This is what he grew up knowing. He says himself, he was like Ghostbusters' first fan. I mean, imagine bragging to your friends, like, oh, you know what movie I'm going to be in? I'm going to be Ghostbusters 2. Yeah, I got a cameo in Ghostbusters 2. And his friends are like, oh my God, you son of a bitch. Right? Like, think about that. He's that guy. And then also, look at the movies that he's made. Right? Thank You for Smoking. Great film. I mean, he worked with Diablo Cody a few times. He did Juno, which I thought was very well directed, just a terrible script. Diablo Cody is a terrible, terrible, terrible writer. Completely terrible, god-awful writer. But, he's a good, solid director. And with a good script on his hands, he'll be able to then take this particular franchise and build up. He's building up to something. Because keep in mind, he's never done tentpole before or any of those other things. So he's coming at this probably from more of like an indie mindset. Remember, the first movie only had a $30 million budget and went on to gross about $294 million worldwide. So there's, I think he can do it. And I think Sony is willing to let it be a thing. And Ivan Reitman has been working on trying to get this thing made for a long ass time. And I think that's going to be pretty good. So thank you very much for that, Rachel. And then we do got one voice message here, which I do like, and we will play that here right now.
Hey Matt, Eddie Volution here again. Just wanted to ask because I just saw your recent podcast episode about the new Unsolved Mysteries revival on Netflix, and you were talking about in terms of who would host now that we've lost both Robert Stack and Dennis Farina. But I was actually suggesting maybe there's a host that I actually had in mind. Maybe you may agree to this, but how about Keith David? The original voice of Spawn from the animated movie, as well as Goliath from Gargoyles. Because he has a very distinct voice, and I really and he can make it terrifying and intimidating. I think he would really be a great fit for the revival. I don't know. What do you think? Yeah, man. Thanks.
All right, thank you very much, Eddie, for writing in. He's calling. He's called a couple times. He's a frequent viewer. Thank you very much. You know what, man? Like, I never thought Keith David until you said Keith David. That never even came into my head. And then I heard your message earlier today, and I was all like, God damn, dude, Keith David would be freaking dope, right? Keith David would be dope as shit. So imagine just Keith David narrating like really scary stuff. Now, if you didn't see my video on the Unsolved Mysteries revival over at Netflix, shame on you for one. But what you need to know about the show is that it's going to be 12 episodes, and each episode is going to be focused on one particular case rather than 2 or 3 that we got during the original run with Robert Stack and then Dennis Farina. So it's going to be, one particular story each week, which is cool. Well, it's Netflix. They'll probably release it all at once, but it's still going to be pretty cool to have that. So I guess my question is not my question. In my mind, I'm thinking about Farina. I'm thinking about this, and I'm thinking about Stack, and then I think Keith David, and it's like, yeah, man. Can we create a petition to make that thing? Is there anyone we can email? We could hit him up on Twitter and be like, yo, Keith David. Keith David is a good choice. I would argue at this point probably the best choice. To be fair. All right, so we'll be up for a few more minutes. Let's take a look here at the chat. If you guys got any quick questions in the chat, I will be answering them now. So let's see here. You think Nerd Report says, I think Leslie Jones and the 2016 cast will be in the next Ghostbusters. They won't be in the next Ghostbusters, but they will probably be in the one after that. I think Leslie Jones clarified her statement, like went back and re-clarified it because it was like causing a problem because everyone jumped on it. I really think that. I think that, okay, so here's the whole thing. So in IDW Comics, they released a Ghostbusters comic that brought the two worlds together. And I think that's ultimately what they're trying to do, is they're trying to merge them together by taking at least Kate McKinnon and maybe, Leslie Jones and bringing them over to, Ghostbusters Prime timeline and then go from there, because that's what they were talking about in the comic anyway. So that could be a reality. But in the meantime, I'm not too sure. I don't know. I don't think they'll be in it, but and I don't want them to be in it, to be honest with you. Let's just forget that movie existed. Let's see. Do I have any theories about Ghostbusters 3 yet? I do. Yeah, because looking at the teaser trailer showing the barn and the Ecto-1 underneath the tarp, and like something being worked on, which is clearly a proton pack or a trap, has everything to do, I think, with the fact that Ghostbusters went out of business again, right? Because I think it went out of business again, and I think that they're very much, it's been 30 years. Things have died down. Maybe there's competition in the marketplace, because remember, that always happens. And the idea behind Ghostbusters is that it ultimately is a capitalist venture. So with capitalism comes competition. And so it's possible that they just got got screwed over. They eventually couldn't keep up with Egon passing away. They couldn't keep up with the technology being developed. And, maybe they not probably sold the rights. I don't think they would have sold the rights, even though franchise rights was mentioned in the original film. It's possible they didn't do that. And then Ray got the patent, got the IP for it, and he just kind of kept it to himself until needing to make a comeback somehow. I just don't know. I don't know what the catalyst is going to be to bring Ray out of retirement, because it's going to be all about Ray, or it's going to be teenagers that need the help of Ghostbusters in a small town. Again, I think the budget's going to be very low. I think they're going to take it out of New York, and they're going to maybe put it in upstate or someplace in the Northeast, where it's not going to be, like high tech stuff. I think they're going to do that, and as a way to kind of ease back into the story. And it does seem like maybe one of the more interesting ways of going about it. What's my favorite animated series on Netflix? That would be F is for Family, hands down. That show is amazing. Amazing. Ghostbusters 3 is going to fail. Roosevelt, that is fighting words. Are they going to pull a Paul Walker and Carrie Fisher and put CGI Egon in Ghostbusters 3? I really hope not, Steven. I really hope not. I don't believe that they should. I don't believe that they should at all. I think that they should just leave him gone. Keep it there. What story do I want Ghostbusters 3 to be about? I don't know. I mean, it's not like there's comic books. I mean, there's the animated show, but I don't remember a lot of those like individual storylines, to really kind of pull from one. You know, it's not like the different types of, it's not like in Marvel movies doing Captain America Civil War and tying into that particular storyline. I don't know yet. At this point, I just want to be entertained, and I think I'll be very happy with that. Let's see here. I don't think they're out of business. Ray probably retired and kept the original Ecto-1. Why would the company keep using a 70-year-old car? Nostalgia, man. Nostalgia. I don't know. That's my theory, at least. So is that all right? So if there's nothing else here, because we've got 6 o'clock, 6:01 right now. I do have to kind of keep this at about a hard 6 deadline. Anyway, I'm gonna wrap it up. Again, if you guys want to submit stories, I think in the video description we've got a link to the Facebook page, facebook.com groups Mundane Matt. Also a link to the Discord is in that down there, so you guys can hit us up and let us know stories you want me to cover. I'll be back on tomorrow night at about 5 p.m. Again, I'll be on time this time, a few minutes. Hopefully not as many stories, because fuck. And then again, whatever time we have remaining, well, it's all about you guys, what you guys want to talk about, emails, voicemails, chat. That's what I'm here for. I'll see you guys later. Have yourself a great day. Thank you so much for watching, and peace out.